Before settling on this latest version of the dashboard, the first version of the dashboard, the Treasury did a lot of consultation with many different groups. We deliberately tried to be as diverse as possible and to cover all the different parts of the spectrum of views on this topic of living standards. And we suspected this would be the case, and it very much was the case, that there are lots of different perspectives out there. And so we wanted to hear them all and take them all into account to the extent that we could. So we spoke to, we spoke to academics, we spoke to counterparts overseas treasuries. We had a challenge group which comprised representatives of different sectors of society. We spoke to Māori groups, Pacifica groups. We spoke to representatives of the Asian perspective on wellbeing. As many as we could think of. We did a web survey for the public to provide comments online, as well as running focus groups and different ways of collecting perspectives on what wellbeing and living standards means to people. So we think we ran a pretty thorough process of gathering views. We then had a pretty large job of boiling it down and saying, well, what is the way of capturing all these diverse views in a way that's most useful to governments and to the public and to Treasury analysts in this work. That consultation process also revealed that there is more to be done in certain aspects where there is disagreement, where there are things that aren't resolved, where there is still gaps in our knowledge that we need to fill, and that is informing our work program on this as we go forward. When you do a consultation, you always learn things that you didn't expect, and that happened very much in this case as well. And so we made changes to what we originally planned. We incorporated different areas of richness into the framework and some new indicators, some different indicators on the basis of our consultations. One example of an area where we thought quite a bit harder about how we would represent this aspect of wellbeing in the dashboard was around the wellbeing of children. And it's the case that, the well-being of children is of course very important to intergenerational well-being, almost by definition. And it became pretty clear in the consultation that, through the consultation process, that there is work to be done on measuring the well-being of children and understanding how the well-being of children in connection with the well-being of their families works together. And so this, the latest version of the dashboard, or the first version of the dashboard, if you like, has lots of variables that are interesting in terms of the household conditions in which children are living, and we are also have in the dashboard the ability to present the well-being of households with family, households with children versus households that don't have children. And you see some interesting patterns there. That's one of the things that we paid quite a lot of attention to as a result of the consultation and the perspectives that people were offering, emphasising how important the well-being of children is to New Zealand. I think the most useful thing that the LSF has done, or that I would want to see coming out of the LSF work, is that it should improve the conversations we have as analysts and as members of the public and as citizens about what makes for a good life in New Zealand. So with the dashboard, we hope that by putting out numbers and specifics on the question of well-being and living standards, we can improve those conversations, and we can bring the wealth of evidence in the different areas together in one place and have a much richer and more coherent discussion as a society about how we can improve well-being and what matters most to New Zealanders as they go about their lives and as they think about what they want for their families and for their futures. This is something that has been difficult to do in the past because there are lots of indicators about lots of different things. And so what our Living Standards Framework tries to do is bring it all within a coherent framework for considering this question of well-being and advising governments on that question. When we did the consultation on the Living Standards Framework and the dashboard, we had a range of range of views, and some of them, to be honest, were negative. We did get quite a bit of challenge from some orders about why the Treasury should be interested in aspects of wellbeing beyond incomes and beyond the traditional areas of Treasury focus, which is fiscal performance and economic performance. And I think the answer to that is that we are, of course, still interested in economic performance and fiscal performance. That is our core role. That is to provide advice to governments on how to improve economic performance and to improve fiscal performance. But the Living Standards Framework recognises that that is actually a means to an end. The economy is there to improve people's lives. And with some of these complex problems that we're facing as a society around climate change, adaptation and mitigation, around technological disruption, about changes to the nature of work and so on. These are issues which don't necessarily lend themselves to the same solutions or the same approaches that we had in the past around improving economic performance. We need to improve economic performance in arguably a different way, to take account of somewhat different things now than we used to in the past. And so we've tried to emphasise in this work, partly in response to that challenge and that criticism, that this is about doing better economics. This is not about not doing economics and not doing fiscal analysis. It is about being much more explicit about the ways in which economic dynamics play out for well-being. And sometimes they're not positive, and we need to be taking account of that in the way we do policy work. We've also had challenge that and we expected this in the consultation, that we had many different suggestions about the different areas of focus that we should have in our Living Standards Framework. That if we had taken on board every suggestion for an indicator in the framework, we probably would have ended up with 500 indicators, because understandably everyone probably in society has a different focus on what matters. So we've tried to be as balanced and comprehensive as possible with the dashboard and with the Living Standards Framework, while keeping the whole thing manageable and keeping it coherent. And that has been a challenge analytically. We will continue to test whether we are doing the best we can with balance and comprehensiveness, and that will involve more discussion over time with different experts and different parties. We've had a lot of interest from the public in various forms, both just general members of the public and charities, philanthropic groups, other non-government organisations, civil society, in what we're trying to do with the Living Standards Framework, because there's a lot of commonality in the goals that we've set out for the Living Standards Framework and the goals that people have for their own lives. They want to have greater well-being for themselves and for their children and for their families. And so we have had a lot of interest and offers to help and offers to engage and discuss the issues with us, which is terrific. We're very welcoming.